Today on Boys on Film, we're talking about a new thriller stroke horror from the producers of St. Maud and the writer of Run. Previously titled The Origin, now called Out of Darkness. I got it the other way around when I spoke to you boys. Chris and Matt, hello! Out of Darkness from Scottish director Andrew Cumming in his feature debut. Written by Ruth Greenberg, who wrote Run. It's produced by Oliver Cassman, who produced or co-produced St. Maud. Set 45,000 years ago, set in the Stone Age. I've got to admit, though, I'm not normally into films that are set way back.
What, you mean like Oliver and My Fair Lady and stuff like that?
That's really about as far as I go.
I think the only thing I can think of that set that far back was A Quest for Fire. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, haven't seen it though.
80s. And Clan of the Cave Bear. Do you remember that?
Is that an art film that you're talking about there?
No, I think Clan of the Cave Bear had Daryl Hannah was the star, and I think it was a big, major studio production, but kind of tanked because I don't know if people want to watch caveman films. Do you know what I mean?
Berry Caveman.
Yes, well, there was Caveman with Ringo Starr. Do you remember that?
Mind blown.
Your knowledge of caveman films is kind of staggering me already.
It was a comedy. Do you remember that? They pushed it in America a lot, but I don't think maybe they never released it in England.
We're learning more and more about you as the weeks go on, Matt. I love this.
I was too busy listening to Human League albums to be bothering myself with horror/caveman films in 1980.
And doing the dancing that the girls...
Oh, God, yeah. Why do you think I'm so good at it now? I started practicing in 1980.
I must admit, when I saw the trailer, I thought, okay, am I into this? Yeah, it looks kind of dark and disturbing and a bit creepy and atmospheric, so I was kind of into it from the trailer. But it's about a tight-knit tribe of humans, early humans, on a journey to find new land and secure a better future for themselves. Turns out to be something that I wasn't really expecting, actually.
When you said, do you want to review a caveman horror film, I was like, wow, that's a new genre. Yeah, of course I do. And then not much happens, does it? Let's be honest. Not much actually happens.
Wait, really. I suppose if you wrote it down on paper, the story is quite thin. I suppose because there's not really that much character development either. I think that if I had to kind of sit down and think about the minus points, I suppose it would be that. It would be that there's not really that much to it. I suppose it's an atmosphere piece, isn't it?
Yeah, especially the first 30 minutes there's no action really. It's just kind of this tribe of people sitting around talking about where they want to go and who they are, kind of, and it's a little slow at that point.
So there's this presence, there's this thing that's out there, that's with them, and I suppose it's atmospheric in the sense that it's dark. Well, it's not all set at dark, but there's a lot of darkness throughout the movie. I mean, that's predominantly most of it, I suppose, isn't it? And I suppose you can see the group of people, but like a few feet away, you can't see really anything else. So it's quite clever in that respect that there is a lot of mystery there. I mean, there were moments I couldn't really look away. I kind of wanted to find out what was going on. But then I suppose that's not revealed until maybe the final act, I suppose. So you kind of kept guessing throughout quite a lot of it.
Did the payoff for you? Did you go, oh, okay, that's what the thing is when you saw the thing? Or did you, like me, just go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because that was my reaction to it. I was like, okay.
Well, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was an interesting climax, but it wasn't really the climax that I was expecting. Like I said at the beginning, it wasn't really what I thought it was going to be. So, I mean, we could kind of do a spoilery review and explain.
Yeah.
I mean, I could perhaps explain what I'm saying more with a spoilery review.
I'm not sure there's much else to talk about if we don't, to be honest. I think we're going to have to.
That's true.
I think you have to say what happened in order to explain the entire premise of it.
So
right?
there's some... Yeah, because there is a presence there, and you don't really know what it is. So you're kept guessing throughout a lot of the film. And I suppose that payoff that you're talking about, Chris, yeah, I suppose some people would be disappointed because they're going into it thinking, okay, this is a horror thriller. Wasn't so much, really, maybe. I suppose the feel of it was.
The feel, but not the payoff. Or multiple payoffs. It was very psychological, but it was not scary.
I suppose there are interesting ideas and visuals. I mean, you've got upside down shots, which have been used a lot in horror films, particularly recently. So it's got that kind of indie horror feel about it. I mean, there's a lot of nighttime scenes, again, which adds to that creepiness. And it does feel a bit creepy in places. I can't say that I was really scared or terrified in it, though.
There's a sort of agoraphobic feeling about it. You know, you're kind of, you know that they are in the middle of nowhere, and clearly there's no shops, roads, civilization, Wi-Fi, nothing like that. This is 45,000 years ago. So they're in the middle of nowhere with nothing. And, you know, lots of the shots are like those kind of Dutch paintings, here we go, where there's like a kind of light, source of light in the middle, and it reflects on everyone's faces, but then you can't see beyond. And, you know, that gives this kind of intimacy to it, and this kind of sort of agoraphobic, claustrophobic kind of thing. Even that didn't really take me anywhere, to be honest. It was beautifully shot, lovely upside down shots, and some of the lighting and some of that kind of stuff's really nice. Costumes, makeup, hair. Come on, this is a gay movie review. You know, that was all great.
Nails. You know, yeah, it was authentic, wasn't it? It felt authentic.
Yeah, loving the nails. But, you know, that makes it all look a little sort of style over substance. I mean, it's not style over substance, but you know what I mean? It's like, you could be wooed by the art direction and the kind of beauty of it, as far as it goes. And actually, but you can't really excuse the fact not much happens, in my view, to be honest.
I don't know if you think this is a problem or not a problem. The fact that the dialogue between the people is not in English. It's in... I read up on it. It's in a made-up language that's kind of related to Basque, the Basque language in Spain. But it's just tangentially related. They just kind of made it up for the film. Do you think the film would have been a little bit more... You could connect to it more if they were speaking in English than in this made-up language?
I kind of liked it.
Would it have been more credible? Probably not, really, no.
I mean, not credible because we know they didn't exist, but... Do you know? Would you want to follow the story more?
Well, I liked the fact that it was subtitled because it felt a bit more ominous. I don't know why that is, because not all subtitle films are ominous, but it made me feel a bit more curious about it. But then I suppose there is that downside with subtitle films where you do miss a lot of the action. I mean, there's not really a lot of action, so that doesn't really apply. But I kind of liked that it was subtitled, but I did wonder why it was. And I kept thinking, they sound Icelandic almost, but obviously it wasn't. But yeah, that was quite fascinating.
I found that quite credible that it was non-English and that it was this kind of other language. I mean, 45,000 years ago is like a couple of years before my birthday. You know, it's a long time ago. So, you know, life wasn't the same. People didn't speak the same language. They didn't wear the same clothes. They didn't have the same nails. You know, things were different back then.
There wasn't Human League that far back, though. I mean, Human League weren't around at 45,000.
Well, weren't they? I don't know. So, yeah, I look at that for me. To be honest, if they'd all been speaking in English with Scottish accents or whatever, that would have been a little implausible, to be honest. I mean, not that I'm a history stickler, but it just would have been a bit like, oh, that's pretty evolved for 45,000 years ago.
Yeah, I found it quite credible. And I thought, you know, the design, the set design, the costumes, like you say, were credible. I thought they were authentic. They felt genuine to me. And the performances, I think, went along with that. So I think it was solid. But you're right, Chris, there doesn't really seem to be that much going on. And I suppose at the end, you know, some people might feel like it falls a bit flat. But I didn't dislike it by any means. I mean, I felt it was quite brooding. I thought it was quite a solid movie. I didn't feel necessarily won over by it either, though. I didn't think it was maybe something that I would want to watch again.
What did you think? What did you make of their social unit? Did you read them as a family or just some people that knew each other that were travelling together? I mean, maybe I missed the explanation of who they all were to each other, but I quite liked, again, the notion that the sort of nuclear family or the family, you know, was still in its infancy as a kind of social group, and that they were just some people that had come together. There's the woman who's obviously kind of joined them. I can't remember what they called her, but she was a kind of a sort of, she like a hanger-on. She was a something else, you know. So their unit, their social unit, was kind of unclear, and I was kind of intrigued by that. Again, a bit like the language thing. It was kind of quite credible that a long time ago, they may not have had those kind of same social definitions. But what did you guys make of that? Did you read them as a family? Did you understand them as a group?
I think most of them were family, either like children and parents or cousins. I don't know, some kind of relation, except for the heroine character. She clearly was an outsider that they met along the way and just let her come with them along this journey. Because that's a big plot line in the story, is that she's this outsider and they shouldn't trust her, and they're not totally sure about her. So I think that's for sure she's not one of the rest. I think that's kind of a big plot point of that.
Mm-hmm. And there were moments, I suppose, when certain members of this family didn't get on either, so that felt quite plausible. That felt like quite, a normal family, I suppose, in that respect. But yeah, I quite liked the kind of male-female divide as well, that, they were quite fiery women and quite strong. And there's that moment, obviously, when the girl is she has her first period as well, which is quite interesting when you think about if there's a presence there that could potentially... There is a moment when he says, oh, this creature will smell her.
I think we all agreed that it's kind of... There was something incredible about its setting and the time it was supposed to be in terms of its staging and its language and all those kind of things. And perhaps we're asking too much of it to expect there to be some kind of big drama dynasty-style plotline about it. It was 45,000 years ago. You couldn't bitch over who'd stolen each other's husbands back then. So, maybe just not much happened back then. And we just, that's perhaps, another adjustment you have to make when you watch it, is to remember that this is set at a time where all those social constructs just don't exist, and it's about survival, and it's about getting from A to B and discovering some world or some land or some food or whatever, and that's kind of all that they could focus on. That was all they could do.
And about human behaviour. Yeah, absolutely, because I think it might be, for that reason, a survival film. It might be maybe the film that people going in to would think it's something completely different.
Who do you think's going to love this film? Who do you think the audience are? Who do you think... What are you going to be into this film?
That's a really good question. What do you reckon, Matt?
I don't know, but the whole time I was watching this, I was thinking of another movie that was a better movie, I think. I don't know if you've seen it. It came out last year. I think it was called Prey.
Oh, yes, I haven't seen it, though. I know of it.
It sounds ridiculous, but it was a prequel to the Predator series. But unlike that, it takes place maybe 500 years ago, 600 years ago, in America, pre-colonial invasion. And it's a bunch of Native Americans fighting this creature, which is, I guess, is the predator creature from the future, but he's always existed, I guess. And the heroine is also a teenage girl, like in this film, and she's the one that kind of is stronger than the men and kind of makes her way through fighting this evil force. And I think it's done much better than this film.
Let's do soundtrack for a minute. Come on, we're all music people. Let's do soundtrack.
Yeah, the music was good. Soundtrack. It was quite ominous, thuddery. What I remember.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember it. It was present, but it was just kind of a background drone kind of
droney. Like, that's the word I was going to write down actually when I watched it. Yeah,
drone. I mean, it's the thing these days. Yeah, I mean, I felt that going with like the lighting and the set and the nails and the costumes. I think the music really helped all of that. It's very ominous, very dark. The pictures itself, I kept thinking our TV wasn't quite right because everything looked kind of dark and ominous, and I was like, oh no, that's the film. It's meant to be dark and ominous. And I think the music really went, music as far as it goes, was like that. It's like minimal, ominous, scary, black, dark, cloudy, all those things.
At least it didn't have that soundtrack that so many other horrors seem to have. Is that, and the violin screeching, and it's like, oh god, not another horror film with that clicking, ticking noise. So you see it on every trailer. That just puts me off a film. Okay, they're using that soundtrack. I'm not going there. I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
So, star rating then, boys. What do you think of Out of Darkness?
Wow.
There's a big exhale there, Matt. That doesn't bode well.
I might, surprisingly, since I know you don't do half ratings, I might give it a 3. And that's mainly for all the technical aspects of the film. Cinematography, costume, anything, music, anything. The whole technical and visual aspect was really great.
Yeah.
and even the performance is great. Just underwhelming overall story. So that kind of, it's a 3, but it could have been a 2. But I think the techno aspect pushes it up a little bit.
I completely agree,
especially for a low budget film.
Yeah, because this is his first feature, and I gave it a tick for that because I thought it was really confident film. I thought it looked good and it felt genuine and kind of sucked me in to some extent. But the 2 stars that I would lose would be for not much more intrigue, and the story was kind of wafer thin. So I think performances and everything else were what I would give the stars for. But yeah, I'm with you as well. 3 stars. I didn't dislike it. I thought it was quite a solid film, but I wouldn't necessarily want to watch it again because there's not that much going on. But I thought it was okay.
Like, critically speaking, I'd probably give it a 3 for all those reasons, Matt. It was well made and well considered and stuff, but I can't kind of separate from the fact about would I watch it again? Was I entertained? And, I thought it might be my thing when I read about it. I was like, okay, that sounds kind of intriguing. So it's not like I wouldn't watch a film like this. I gave it a go, but on a personal level, it's closer to a 2 than it is a 3. So I'm going to go 2 because I'm going kind of slightly more personally, I think.
You're a punk.
Okay.
Yeah. Hardcore. Drone. Drone.